Peace and blessings, my friends. Hope all is well. Back here with another video, and we're gonna continue on with our series on Messiah ? Yeshua ? Yes, no, or maybe. And this week we're going to be talking about specifically concerning the Messiah, the Davidic descent. The Messiah and his Davidic ancestry. It is like a for sure thing. It's in the code when Maimonides, the Rambam, talks to us about the fundamentals of the Messiah and who he should be. One of the first things, yikes, just dropped something. One of the first things he discusses with us is that the Messiah has to be from the line of David through Solomon. It's right in Mishnah Torah, Laws of Kings 11:4. He has to be in line with these requirements. It's a must. And one of the main points that I want to bring on, reason why I'm making this video, is that Christianity for almost 1900 years, 2000 years, has taught a certain dogma, a certain doctrine, a theological outlook, because of some pretty difficult passages in the Gospel of Matthew and in the Gospel of Luke. This is where you find the genealogies, okay? The genealogies of Yeshua. Why is there even genealogies? The reason why there's genealogies is because to Jews, it was important to have a genealogy. If you're going to claim someone as the Christ, you're going to claim someone as the Messiah, who is the King of Israel, he has to be able to prove that through direct descent. Father to son, all the way back to David. And the Gospels of Matthew and Luke do just that, right? And this is the exact same places where you'll find the birth narratives of Jesus, the only two birth narratives, and where you'll find the difficult passages that speak of the virgin birth, right? To literalists, mostly non-Jews, unacquainted with legend, myth, symbolism, etc., that is found within Torah Judaism, what happened is that these passages were taken straight literal. I've talked about these issues before. I have videos that talk about the birth narratives of Jesus and these issues, but I wanted to specifically tackle them here in this video for our series' sake. David's lineage. All right, we're going to talk about David's lineage. King David lived a life full of trials and tribulations, literally from birth. Shunned by his father as a bastard from before he was born. And this is because this is talked about in the oral tradition as Jesse, he found out that his mother was Ruth, and so she was a Moabitess who ended up converting. And so, there's a passage in the Torah, we'll discuss it. There's a passage in the Torah that says, that no Moabitess can come into the fold. Let me just continue. So, shunned by his father as a bastard from before he was born, David is not a stranger to controversy. His lineage is shrouded in mystery and in shame. The sages explain why King David's royal dynasty will last all the way until the Messiah, as opposed to King Saul, which ended. See Laws of Kings, Rambam's Laws of Kings 1:10. David's lineage was controversial. His maternal grandmother, Ruth, was a Moabite convert. The Torah states that a man from Moab may not convert to Judaism. And there was a great debate among the rabbis about whether a Moabite woman may enter the Jewish nation. And the halakha says that she can. So this is the controversy that was in Jesse's life, and so he put away his wife and would not sleep with her, because he thought that he wasn't Jewish because of that situation with his grandmother Ruth. And so, but his wife, he took his servant as a wife who was a non-Jew, but she loved her master. And so when it was her turn she was going to sleep with him that night with Jesse, she called Jesse's real wife, and she ended up sleeping with him that night. And this is how David was conceived. Okay. And so when she was found pregnant, he was like, man, I didn't sleep with her, this, that, and the other. This is why all the controversy surrounds David amongst his brothers, that he was a mamzer, that he was a bastard. This is a little bit of the background. Okay. Also, because of David's different hair color and other reasons, this added suspicion. His brothers rejected him and called him a bastard, and he was relegated to the role of shepherding in places of danger, of attack by wild animals. Concerning this, David says in Psalm 69:8, I am a stranger to my brothers, a foreigner to my kin. So this is the controversies that he was going through in his life, with the stigma of him being an illegitimate child. This is why when Samuel comes to anoint the Messiah whom God had chosen, he says he is amongst the sons of Jesse. Jesse shows him all his children, and even forgot that David was his son, and David was shepherding sheep. And he was like, Samuel tells him, is this all your sons? And Jesse says, oh, like he remembers, like, oh yeah, there's another one, but he's shepherding sheep. So he said, go call him, but we won't start eating until you do so. And then as soon as Samuel sees him, Hashem tells him, this is the one, anoint him. Incredible, right? It's incredible stuff. A king from the house of David. Laws of Kings 11:4 says, if a king will rise from the house of David. That's the quote. It must be established from the beginning that if the Messiah is not a descendant of King David, then by definition, he cannot be the higher. He cannot be a potential Messiah at all. And so I tell this to my Christian audience and to my Christian friends often. You disqualify Jesus for the messianic candidacy by your theology. And they say, well, Miriam is of the tribe of David. And here's a huge problem. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what my theology says. It matters what the law of the Bible says, what the law of God says. Jewish law is not like that. So Jewishness comes from the mother, whether you're Jewish or not is through the mother, but not tribal affiliation. Tribal affiliation is via the father. And I'm going to show you a few verses that will confirm this for us, okay? Let me pull it up. First, let me say it like this. Okay? All right. Let me find it. Okay. Tribal rights are by biological father only. The Torah specifies that blood rights such as tribal lineage are transmitted exclusively from father to his biological sons. Whenever the Israelites were selected to serve in the army, it was done according to the house of their father. See Numbers 1:17 through 18. And it says like this. Then Moses and Aaron took these men, who were indicated by their names, and they assembled all the congregation on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, a head count of every male from 20 years old and upward. Similarly, The Aaronic priesthood can only be transmitted from a father to his biological sons. See Exodus 40:15 and Numbers 25:12 through 13. If adoption into the royal line were possible, one would have to wonder why Athaliah took such drastic measures following the death of her sons at the hands of Jehu and his men. 2 Kings 11:1, and it says like this: And Athaliah, Ahaziah's mother, saw that her son was dead, and she rose and destroyed all those of the royal descent. Had adoption been a viable option, a viable solution to the problem of an heir, Athaliah would have been able to pursue that route. See 2 Kings 9:27 and 10:13 through 14. So tribes only pass from biological Jewish father of a specific tribe who has a child with a Jewish woman. Adoption doesn't pass tribal lineage, and neither do women. Were Rahab and Ruth Jews? Question. Ruth was a non-Jew that converted. Okay? As for Rahab, she was a convert who married Joshua, and became an ancestor to a number of the prophets. Okay? To further clarify, if a woman is not a Jew and she converts halakhically according to Jewish law and then marries a Jewish man and they have a child, that child is as Jewish as any other. If a woman converts to Judaism who already has children prior to her conversion, her children are not Jewish. To become Jews, they would also have to convert halakhically and would have to reaffirm their decision to be Jews upon reaching maturity. All right? Wanted to make sure to read that really quick, and I'm sure it would help. Now, let's continue. The Messiah must be of Davidic descent. And as we saw, the whole situation of Mary being of Davidic descent does not work. The genealogies are not Miriam's, as is popularly taught in the church and in church tradition. Jesus was not a Christian, nor were his apostles. Tribal affiliation is via the Father. So the genealogy that we have in Matthew and Luke is Joseph's. Okay? It's clear. It's there in the text. It says like this. The prophet Isaiah says concerning the future son of David, there shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots shall bear fruit. Isaiah 11:1. A shoot from the stump of Jesse? What does the prophet mean? What's going on here, right? Isaiah foresaw a time in which there would be no king from the line of David. According to the other prophets, it says the same thing. Ruling in Israel. David's lineage would continue, but the kingdom of Israel would not. The Jewish people went into Babylonian captivity. Therefore, it is as if the tree of David's offspring was cut down, and what was left was only a stump. Isaiah of a time in which the Davidic monarchy would rise up again from that stump. He prophesied, okay? In that day, the root of Jesse shall stand as a signal for the peoples. Of him, concerning the Messiah, shall the nations inquire, and his resting place shall be glorious. Isaiah 11:10. God promised that the kingship will belong to David's seed forever. See prophecies in Genesis 49:10 and in 1 Samuel 7:14 through 16, when God promises that the Davidic lineage would stand forever. And so it is of great importance that Messiah be a direct descendant of King David. We read concerning Yeshua Ben Yosef in the book of Matthew. Okay, it says like this: the book of the Toledot of Yeshua the Messiah, son of David, son of Abraham. This is how the Gospel of Matthew opens up with the genealogy. So I also wanted to show you guys a textual variant, which is amazing. A textual variant of the birth narrative of Jesus when they're given the genealogy. It says, Yeshua's father, this note that I have here, I'm going to read it for you guys. Yeshua's father was Joseph, and his mother was Miriam. Such is the explicit statement in an old Syriac manuscript of the Gospels found in the monastery of Mount Sinai by Mrs. Lewis and Mr. Gibson. It says like this. It is written in Matthew 1:16. And Joseph, to whom was espoused the Virgin Miriam, begot Yeshua, who is called the Messiah. Agnes Smith Lewis, The Old Syriac Gospels, London, 1910, page 2, Syriac text. All right, I wanted to make sure to read that to you guys, because that's amazing stuff. Really good stuff to know. Let's get back here to our topic. So we saw, again, the book of the Toledot of the generations of Jesus, of the Messiah, son of David, the son of Abraham. Throughout the centuries, Jews have kept careful genealogical family records that play a vital role in the identity of the Messiah. Jesus is not the only person who knows that he's of the Davidic descent. There are many rabbis in the past, Rashi, I want to say Rashi, I think what's his name? There were many rabbis. There was many rabbis. Some of them don't come to my mind right now. I know the Rebbe of Chabad, I believe Rebbe Nachman as well, the Ari, the Arizal. There's more than a few rabbis who knew that they were of the Davidic ancestry, which is incredible, right? There's many people who have long lists of genealogies just like this one, which is amazing. So it says, throughout centuries, Jews have kept careful genealogical family records that play a vital role in the identity of the Messiah. An individual could not claim to be heir to the throne of David if he could not prove this lineage. Yeshua shows to be a direct descendant of King David in both the Gospel of Matthew and Luke. But we also know that we have a little issue in the Gospels, and we'll get to that. We're going to get to that, but I wanted to read what the first hires of the Jesus movement thought about these situations. The first movements, and we know of them through church tradition. The church fathers wrote about certain heretical sects very early on that followed the first Jesus movement from the apostles. Their timing is to that time period of the apostles in the first century. So they're direct hires. So what did the Nazarenes and the Evyonim, the Ebionites, what did they believe concerning Jesus? We know that the Ebionites, they, in their gospels, they had a gospel of Matthew in Hebrew, and they had another gospel. Some scholars say they had another gospel called the Gospel of the Hebrews. Two different gospels is like maybe like sayings of like different sayings, teachings of Yeshua. But they did not have a genealogy in their Matthew. They did not have the genealogy that you find in our Matthew or in Luke. They didn't have the whole ancestry, but they did believe that Jesus was a descendant of David, but they didn't have the whole genealogy. They also didn't believe in the virgin birth narrative. They believed that Jesus was the son of Joseph, hands down. And the way that he became the Messiah is, we'll read it now, is through him refining his character, his midot, studying Torah and being righteous. And then when he was finally immersed by a prophet, when he was immersed at that moment, which was a huge moment for the first Nazarene sect, for the first Jesus followers, it says that the Spirit of God hovered over him in the form of a dove, and this illustrated that the messianic soul, the soul of the Messiah, engulfed Yeshua, and this is how he became the Christ, the anointed one of God, the Messiah, which is incredible. This is so Jewish. This concept is found in so many Jewish sources. I've quoted them, I've written about them in various articles and notes that I have written. I can share them in the comment section, but it's totally incredible, amazing. So let me read now some of the things that the early Ebionites, they believed concerning Yeshua. It says like this. The information of Hippolytus about the Ebionites gives us precisely what Eusebius tells us about the first kind of Ebionites. Okay? He says like this, quote, they believed that Jesus was a righteous man who kept the law, and he will also obtain righteousness only by keeping it. For their beliefs about Christ, we must unite the statement. For their beliefs about Christ, we must unite the statement. Just like Cerinthus and Carpocrates, they relate only myths, with the Christological beliefs of Cerinthus given immediately before. And he held that Jesus was not born of a virgin, but rather of Joseph and Mary, a son born like all other men, and more righteous and wiser. This is found again in Eusebius. I can get you the direct quote later, but that's incredible, right? There's another source. That's this right here is from Ray Pritt's The Nazarene Jewish Christianity. Great book, okay? And also I have, listen to this quote. It says like this. There are two main tenets of Ebionite Christology that Epiphanius, again, we're still talking about the sources of Epiphanius rejected. First, that he was conceived naturally by a man and woman, making him a mortal human like any other. And second, that Jesus only obtained divine status, meaning being adopted to God, the Son of God status, by God during his life, not prior to his conception. For Epiphanius, in order for Jesus to be fully yet it says like this, yet Ebion maintained that, this is the source, Christ is the offspring of a man, that is, of Joseph, end quote. Okay, again, that is from Eusebius. It is, again, incredible. Let's continue. Now, with some controversies found in the genealogies of Jesus, which both, as we have spoken, are Joseph's. Okay? Okay. Is the Messiah supposed to be a direct descendant through David, through Solomon, or through Nathan, the other son of David? This is incredible. I remember the first time I heard about this, I was like, man, what? This is incredible. Many Bible commentators have suggested that Matthew records Joseph's genealogy while Luke gives Mary's. This is pretty common in Christian circles. I speak about an article that's brought up some really great information by a friend, Toby Janicki. He brings up some interesting information concerning Matthew's depiction of Yeshua's descending from David through Solomon in the Gospel of Matthew. Okay, this is chapter 1, verses 6 through 7. And then, again, we'll talk about, and through Nathan's, and the other, in the Gospel of Luke, it says that he's descended through David, but through Nathan, the son of David, not Solomon. And this is found in Luke 3:31 through 32. It says like this, according to the relatives of Jesus, in this this article that I read by Tony Janicki, he's quoting the traditions of the Desposini. It says like this, the quote says, according to the relatives of Jesus who lived in Nazareth and other nearby villages, both genealogies are correct. The relatives of Jesus explain that the master's great-grandfather, Mathan, from the line of Solomon, married a girl named Esther. Esther gave birth to a son named Jacob. But shortly after the baby was born, her husband Mathan died. Esther remarried. Her second husband was Matat, from the line of Nathan in Luke's genealogy. With Matat, she gave birth to a boy named Eli. The two half-brothers, Jacob and Eli, grew up in the house of Matat. But Jacob was in higher of the Solomonic line, and Eli was from the line of Luke's genealogy. Eli died shortly after marrying, leaving his young widow childless. Jacob took Eli's widow as a relative wife in order to provide and hire in the name of his dead brother, and he seared Joseph. Therefore, Joseph is a natural descendant of Solomon's line through his grandfather Matan, but he is also a legal hire of the Nathanic line through his father's levirate marriage to his mother. it's incredible. I had never heard of something like that. So it says, so there's another interesting note concerning Luke's genealogy, and it's mentioned in David's mention of David's son Nathan. While it is clear that Messiah will be a descendant of David through Solomon, this is the traditional aspect and look that he has to be through Solomon. Okay, the Zohar states that Messiah will actually be a descendant of Nathan. This is found in the Kabbalistic tradition. Commenting on the verse in Isaiah 40, verse 9, the prophet says, "Upon a lofty mountain ascend, you who brings tidings to Zion." On this verse, the Zohar explains like this, end quote, "You that bring good tidings to Zion is Hetsiva, the wife of Nathan, son of David, who is the mother of Messiah, Menachem, son of Amiel, who was her descendant. She shall go out and bring the tidings about redemption, and she is part of the general meaning of you that bring good tidings to Zion." That is in the Zohar 3, 173b, Parshat Shlach Lech Lecha, 45, 298. In an article by Rabbi Yehuda Sherpin, he quotes the 20th century scholar and Kabbalist Rabbi Reuven Margolius, who explains, the Zohar is careful to explain the Messiah being a descendant of Nathan's wife rather than Nathan himself. Nathan had passed away childless, and Solomon, his brother, married his widow according to the laws of levirate marriage. It's incredible. Rabbi Sherpin says, in a levirate marriage, the firstborn son of the widow and the brother of the deceased is considered to be a continuation of the dead husband's line. Therefore, the Messiah is referred here as the offspring of Nathan, even though he is the descendant. He is the direct descendant of King Solomon. So, I mean, there it is. It's right there. I think we clearly explained this, that the Messiah has to be someone who's of the Davidic ancestry. He's got to prove it. There's got to be genealogy. We spoke about the traditions, and I am not dogmatic about it. If someone believes that Jesus was born of the virgin birth, you cannot disqualify him through your theology. It cannot be literally that Joseph is not the father. Some Nazarenes believe that Jesus was born of the virgin birth, but the sources says in the church fathers that they insisted that Joseph was his real father, that the seed that Miriam was impregnated with was Joseph's seed. So while they believed that Jesus was indeed born of a virgin, they insisted that that seed was Joseph's. They also rejected the divinity of Jesus, like the Evionim, etc. Now, there are certain midrashim and passages, Agadah, that talk about a supposed virgin birth. There's one of, I think, Yeshua Ben Yosef or something like that, that someone was swimming in a pool and seed was in there and the woman got pregnant without sexual intercourse. It's something along those lines. Another one is found in the book of 2nd Enoch, where Melchizedek is born of a virgin, literally born of a virgin. So these things are there in Jewish folklore and myth and legend, mystical thought, but not literally, okay? Because literally, the Messiah has to be of the stock of David. He has to be of that ancestry. And as we spoke, tribal affiliation is through the paternal line, not through the mother's line. If you insist that it's through the mother's line, Jesus is not the Messiah. Close the books. He was a good man, he's a good story, he can teach us a lot of good morals, but he cannot be a potential Messiah. I also have one more thing that I wanted to read. I think the full quote of the Zohar concerning Messiah being from Nathan. Okay, this is a whole source that I found It's called Lashon HaZohar. It's the Targum of the Zohar with interliner commentary by Yafe Sha'ah. It says like this. In addition, he opened Rav Hamuna Saba and said, in order to explain, get you up into the high mountain, bearer of good tidings to Zion, etc. Into the high mountain definitely means the mountain of Avraham, where Moshe was buried, which has a holiness higher than Eretz Israel, and there is no prince that rules over it except Moshe Rabbeinu, as it is explained in Parshat Teruma 157a. We, the Havarim, have already explained that the Shekhinah will ascend to there, as Eretz Israel is the place of the Shekhinah, and will still be in the hands of the nation. Therefore, she will send to open the entrance gate to Eretz Israel, which is in the mountain of Avraham, and will proclaim the good tidings of the redemption to the world. Therefore, because the redemption will be by means of a physical man, it is necessary that one neshama, that one soul, will come from this proclamation of the Geula. However, all is inclusive in her, the bearer of good tidings to Zion, is Hetziva, the wife of Nathan, son of David, as is mentioned in 2 Samuel 5:14. She is called this in honor of Israel, as it is written, you shall no longer be called forsaken, because he calls you my delight. Hefetz, it's a play on words, is in her who is the mother of Messiah. It is in her who is the mother of Messiah, Menachem, son of Amiel, which is to say that he shall come from her descendants. She shall go out and bring good tidings of the redemption, and she is part of the general meaning of bearer of good tidings to Zion. That is to say that the Shekhinah will proclaim the news of the redemption spiritually in a hidden way, and the mother of Mashiach will proclaim the news of the redemption physically in a revealed way. And there's a commentary of the Ramak on this, and it says, the matter is thus: after Shlomo HaMelech was blemished by three things, with gold, with women, and with horses, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded concerning them to not increase, so that he would not be drawn after evil forces, and he increased in them, and thus erred. Therefore, his close brother Nathan ben David merited that Messiah would come from him instead, and his source is from Chokmah, in the secret of Hashem gave Nathan wisdom, which is concealed. Therefore, he would not be the one to proclaim the Geula. Rather, his wife, who is called my delight, is in her, who is in the aspect of Bina, and Messiah, Mashiach, will come from their seed after several generations, in the time when the temple is being destroyed, and he will be called Menachem, in honor of comfort my people, and the name of his father Amiel, in honor of with whom God is most high. And that's the it's incredible. That's the source. It's incredible that we have these sources, and the topic is just, off the charts. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about. But man, there it is. The Messiah has to be a direct descendant of David. Okay, I hope this helped. And I want everyone to, check the sources out for themselves. I'm going to try to post a lot of these sources in the comment section, but it's all there. Don't take my word for it. Do your own homework and check to see what's going on. Appreciate you guys, man. Peace. I'm out.